You watched it so many times before, and now you're gonna watch it again. But it's been so many years since you last saw it, and now you show it to your friends, and they're like, what?
What am I watching?
Why this film?
Alan, do you want to know some trivia about that theme tune we just heard that played?
Yeah.
I know all sorts of trivia about it.
Go on.
The guy singing there is Emily Slade's ex-boyfriend.
Ooh,
She's left
drama.
it intact. She's left it intact to like keep the flame alive. You know, like the end of The Social Network, where Jesse Eisenberg starts trying to like send a friend request to that woman. And he built this empire to like get her attention. That's
Is she hoping that he might start legal action to have him removed? That'll open
Yeah,
communications.
Exactly. Yeah. I've got some more trivia as well.
Go on.
At the start there, where you hear the piano play and someone laughs, that's because Sting accidentally sat on the piano and they just left it in.
They let Sting in. Like, how did you get Sting to do your theme tune? That's impressive, isn't it?
Yes, everyone, it's the two best guests from the two best episodes of Why This Film returning.
Together at last.
I literally haven't even done an intro, so okay.
This is the intro.
He's
now.
doing it for you. He's a professional
Yeah.
that. He can't stop himself. He can't stop podcasting, even though everyone wants him to.
Thank you so much for that, Sol.
Hey guys, what's a hip hop happening, home dogs?
That's one of my
Are
favourite
you allowed to say that?
Almost definitely not. Hello and welcome back to Why This Film, the podcast where we reach back into your childhood and we'll rewatch a movie and have a chat about it. I'm Emily Slade and welcome back. The movie that we are looking at today is 2009's Space Buddies. The IMDb breakdown: Disney's pups are back and take one small step for dog and one giant leap for dog kind.
Awful stuff. By the way, we're reaching back into our childhoods. I was 25 when this film came out.
I was going to say, would you like to explain
I was
why and
19.
how we're here today, lads? Why this film?
I think Sol needs to answer that because he picked it. I have no idea.
Because Emily Slade came knocking at our door, like, you know, soot on her cheeks and like tattered
What?
clothes with her. She, with her hands together, and she begged us, please, you need to come back and do another episode of my podcast.
He was so popular.
And we said,
So
sure,
funny.
okay. And she was like, all right, but what film do you want to do? Like, as if Alan and I have a shared childhood. Well, we don't. We didn't meet till I was 18 and Alan was 24?
Yeah, it was all illegal and above board.
Yeah. So we went back. We went back to 2008, 2009. This was a big part of our university together, wasn't it, Ellen?
Adorable.
Insofar as I watched it and laughed about it with you, and I don't know if you even ever saw it.
When I watched this film just recently, I realised that I'd seen it before, and I was just utterly depressed about how my life's got to this point.
Not only have I now seen Space Buddies twice, but I realised that I've seen. This film was directed by a guy called Robert Vince. I've now seen
The man
two
behind
films
the
directed
Buddies.
by Robert Vince.
But that means you've seen two
haven't
Buddies
seen two
films.
films directed by
David Lynch.
no, I have with him. Let's say Almodovar. What's it called? Pedro Almodovar? Is that
Pedro
Almodovar.
Almodovar.
That's the one. I've not seen two of his films yet, but I've seen Space Buddies and Monkey Up. Do you remember Monkey Up, Alan? I think we watched that one.
I don't, but I saw this guy's filmography, and it's just
my God,
puppies and monkeys.
Do you know what he
Chimps
made? Do
mostly.
you know what he made, Slade?
What?
He only made MVP. He made his name with this film, by the way. This was his debut.
Most valuable primate.
MVP, Most Valuable Primate. And he completed the trilogy, did all three of them. Most Vertical Primate, the second one, that's skateboarding.
Incredible. I knew these movies, they're Disney, they were on my radar, they're in the zeitgeist so far as like I knew that they existed, but I had no idea that they were part of a wider cinematic universe, coming off the back of Air Bud, of course everybody's favorite, but is it basketball playing?
Originally, yeah.
Dog?
But, is it?
Played
Yes, so
basketball in the
these-
first
Baseball.
one. No,
Was baseball the second
that's
one?
the fourth one.
Okay.
It goes deep. The lore goes deep. So these 5 dogs who are protagonists in this one, the ensemble cast that star in this movie, are all the children of Air Bud, and they have their own
Perpetual
movies.
children.
And they're all the sibling dogs are all still like in touch with one another. All their owners like let them visit. Unlike in reality, where what actually happens is a puppy is ripped away from its parents at a very young age. The parents mourn the loss of their children and then
Like
never
in
get to their
Babe.
siblings again.
But this was Air Bud's
That's
children.
pet ownership. If you have a pet,
You're evil.
you are an evil person.
Yeah. But Saul, this is Air Bud's puppies, you see. They were special. I looked into the lore because, I was watching this. I was thinking, why are there 5 puppies in space? I need to find out what's going on here. And then
They're all called Bud.
They're all called Bud.
So that you know that they're descendants of Air Bud.
Well, exactly.
But also they meet this Russian dog
Called
on
Budnik.
the space station called Spudnik.
Yeah.
So
Russians love potatoes. So.
when you went into the Air Bud lore, did you find anything about Air Bud having some illegitimate kids around the globe? Like
No.
I think it's
basketball
more that
star. he probably
the
sowed his seed.
puppies
Didn't
come
he?
across a lot of guest stars, and he's our additional dog in this movie.
Well, do you know what? Do you know
he's
what,
called
Saul?
Spudnik, which suggests he's been named to keep the family
No,
name.
that would be
Bud.
Budnik, wouldn't it?
No, it is Spudnik with a P. You're right. I assumed it was Spudnik, S-B-U-D.
No, you just admitted that you couldn't spell.
No. Anyway,
No,
look.
I can spell better than IMDb.
So, I'll tell you the law because this is gonna mess you up, right? Air Bud, the basketball playing dog. I don't think he even speaks. That's a new thing that just his children can do.
Sorry.
He can't.
I thought that because I went to look for his original voice actor and he didn't have one. When he appears in later Buddy's movies, because the mom and the dad do sometimes make cameo appearances in the like I believe 7 movies that there are starring these dogs. They then are voiced, but originally he never spoke.
Is it only 7?
It might be more, might be like up to 12. I'm not entirely sure. At least none of them died on this production.
Well,
So
yeah.
that's
So let me tell you the law, right? So there
There's
was
13 of these things listed on IMDb.
Exactly, right.
I don't know if there's
Bloody
more after that. I think, yeah.
no. The law is right that in the 90s there was this dog and its owner trained it to like smack a basketball with its face, and then
Is this real
in
world or
real
the
life,
film,
yeah.
Bud?
And so it went on like
And then in the real world, someone said, "Hey, look, there's no rule that says a dog can't play basketball."
they had to let it in, but it failed the drug test. It got banned for 18 months.
And everyone was everyone's like so taken with a cute dog, they're not gonna like tackle it in sport or do anything mean to it, so they just let it win.
Well, pretty much. But they trained it to hit a basketball with its face. And then they went on Letterman and TV and stuff like that, and everyone like, oh, look at the cute dog. It was before America's Got Talent. It was a thing. And then off the back of that, they made a $4 million movie about a dog that hits a basketball with its face. And then, but then,
Is that what happened with Most Vertical Primate? So it was just
it was just a
chimp
particularly
on a skateboard.
tall chimp, yeah. But that's it. They had this celebrity dog, and so they made a film around it, like Space
Have you ever
Jam.
seen Most Horizontal Primate, Alan? I think it's
That's
called
the-
Maximum Amor.
I told you I don't pay for that sort of thing. But yeah, so the problem was, Saul, they discovered this dog could do that. They thought, oh, this film's a success. Let's make another one. The bloody dog went and died. And so they had to just bring in other random dogs and like just tape a football to its face and pretend it was playing football and stuff like that. and they managed to drag that out for a few films, and then thought, look, what we need is 5 little dogs that can talk. That'll work.
Yeah.
And they changed the
And
whole
it clearly
thing.
worked.
And they've all got distinct personalities, haven't they?
Yeah.
So that we can tell them all apart. So
One of them.
So feminism at its best. We've got a girl one. So I don't know what you're complaining about, Slade. We've
I
got a
wasn't
girl one,
complaining.
and so that you know she's the girl one, she's got a bow on her head, and they give her a pink spacesuit when everyone else has a blue one.
I think that's perfectly Excellent filmmaking.
Guess
And
what
personality
her
traits
interests
she
are.
loves fashion. And well, she's a big cinephile because she's called Rosebud, which is of course a nice little nod to
That
Citizen
is
Kane.
definitely a film reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what are the other personalities? We have one who is a Buddhist, and that is his
Yeah.
personality,
Religion
which means
is his personality.
With that,
it's
that
not
was
religion.
like-
It means
that
occasionally
was-
goes spiritual. Yeah.
Well, no. At one point he goes
Om.
heavenly, and I don't think Buddhists even believe in heaven, do they?
Not the right one, Saul. Not the right heaven.
I feel like Buddha, the Buddhist dog. I feel like that was like the end of the day. They were trying to figure out that like, they got the other four.
What has
They
Bud
got-
in it?
He's
We have
sort of
Yeah,
Rosebud.
They got the
protagonist,
farting dog right away. They got the girl one right away. But it was like 5 p.m. They wanted to go home, and they needed a 5th dog, and they were like, Buddha,
Budget.
Bud,
put it on the
this is
board.
Bud.
We'll fix it tomorrow, and then they never fixed it. They were too busy.
He's always got a little necklace with Buddha around him, so and he ensures to switch that with every outfit, so you can always tell it's him. And he's sort of our grounding protagonist out of the.
He
five.
does seem to be the central, the leader of the buddies.
Of the
But I
pack.
didn't know if that was deliberate or just.
Yeah, it's a religious leader, isn't it? It's they all follow the teachings. Of
So
Buddha.
let me check. We got Buddha,
Yep.
the Buddhist dog. We've got Rosebud, the
They should do
girl
one where
dog.
Buddha meets a llama called Dolly.
Dali. Pathetic. We have.
I say they should do it. That's probably in like
It's in
the fucking
probably in
Treasure
production.
Buddies or something. Yeah.
So what are the other ones? We have B-Boy,
B-Dog.
who's a break dancer.
Dog. He's problematic.
Well, he's from the 90s when one of the characters always if this was made in the 90s, there'd be a black dog in a wheelchair just to tick off like representation.
If only we got that. What happened?
There'd be a girl dog, but she would be a goth girl dog.
Yeah.
But also you would have a character called B-Dog who's into like hip hop and breakdancing and
that's
wearing
this one.
sunglasses. And that character somehow retained in the Disney boardroom putting this film together in 2009. They were that sold on that 90s archetype that they had to.
He's
keep it.
voiced by the boy from Santa Clarita Diet, an actor I really
Oh,
quite like.
is that him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him.
I really like him, and he plays B-Dog, so I'm torn between absolutely despising this character and finding him kind of endearing. Dirt, Muddy. Muddy is another personality. trait of the
Mud
one
Bud.
that we've
You
got.
see, they couldn't think of
Mud
another
Bud.
Bud. They just rhymed it.
and he loves rolling in dirty puddles. So
That's a good character
Well,
trait.
can we come up with some new buddies?
Yeah.
What about Bud?
The stoner.
The stoner dog.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Every line he'd be in space. He'd be going like, "Whoa, dude," and then he'd be like looking at his paws. He'd be going like, "Whoa."
Budweiser dog, and he could bring the sponsorship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be 3 of them. There you go. Budweiser. What's that? Go on, there's that. What else has Bud in it? You see, we've already run out of ideas. This is like we could work for Disney. Budgets, low budget.
Yeah.
Like an accountant dog, and he wears glasses, and a tie as a tie.
Yeah, he's the one who keeps moaning they're spending too much on the space journey.
We might get another girl, but she'd have to be like a femme fatale dog.
Oh yeah,
They could bring back the goth dog archetype from the 90s.
yeah, it'd have eyeliner on.
Adorable. So this is our gorgeous ensemble that we go to space with.
Well, we've missed one out. What's the other one? The one that farts.
The fat one that eats a lot.
You talk about
But he's
fat
also,
one.
like-
He's exactly the same size as all the other dogs.
I know.
Just eats a
But
lot.
the implication is that he's like heavier and bigger, and it's
No, it's
constantly
not. He's
referenced.
like
Oh,
Joey
it
from
is?
Friends. He's got a great metabolism. He'll pad out when he's older.
So
Just like Matt LeBlanc.
what's his name?
Right, hang on. I'm looking. We got Butterball.
Butterball. That's the
That was
one.
him.
Is
That's
that-
him.
Yeah, that's
That's
him.
him. Yeah.
Because he's a
He's like-
because he's fat.
Wait, you say he's the fat one. He's a jock. He plays sport. He's the
Yes,
most
he's like a
trim out of all of them.
quarterback.
Yeah, but he has to eat a lot to maintain all that muscle mass he's got.
Yeah. Because he's burning it off. He's turning it into muscle.
Good. He's got a job. He's got that sunblock on though. Otherwise, he might get blinded in the light. So we do. Obviously, they've cast the dogs to all look exactly the same. Presumably because then you can just switch them out when they die or they've overworked. And then
Yeah, and you only have to make one terrible CGI model of a dog, and you can just reuse it over again.
But the problem is they all look alike, so they have to give them these little physical things so we can at least have some sense of what they are.
Oh, I've got a new Bud character concept. Ding dong.
Oh, hello. Who's that at the door?
no.
I'll get it, Emily. Don't worry.
It's two at once, Alan. It's Beavis and Budhead.
Ah, great. Oh god, they just sit around all day watching the music videos. Stupid.
Yeah, barking at the TV.
We've got a bunch of little puppies, little golden blonde-haired Aryan puppies.
And they are very cute. They are very cute.
It's dogs. Why don't they do this film with cats? It'd be like 10 times better.
They're really cute.
It would be a lot better with cats. Cats in space.
I was really on board with this movie for the first 20 minutes because they're so cute. I mean, we opened by meeting Spudnik. He's the first character that we meet. He's basically Bullseye from Oliver.
Yeah. We open with all these shots of outer space, the space station, with music that sounds suspiciously similar to the theme tune to Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Very similar. And then we zoom in on a dog who's like, "Hello, I am Russian Dogmanaut." And it's like, oh.
Sol, you've got... That's too much of a cartoon Russian accent, because that's what I was expecting.
Right.
It was like, obviously we thought, we can't expect an American child to listen to this accent and understand what they're saying. It has to be so very slightly Russian that you can barely tell at all. And it's like, oh, I am a Russian. I am a dog, and I live in the space. My boy Sasha is waiting for me. Oh, no,
I found it endearing.
I've gone Jewish,
now that's
so.
something that I love as well, is that obviously, the Russian space program, they've not got money to be buying their own dogs. They just stole some kid's dog and shoved it on a space rocket.
Maybe that boy. That boy is like the son of the bloke who runs Russian space agency, and it's just sort of like,
Well,
Sasha, I'm going to borrow your dog.
And he has a statue of his dog outside his house. Did you guys clock that?
He's got a bit of money, that lad.
Spudnik's owner, who is like 10 years old, but the implication is that Spudnik's been in space for like a few years now.
Well, he said
he's still only like under 10.
Well, he's lost track of time, that dog. That's the problem. He's actually only been there 3 weeks.
That's what happens.
But he's got
dogs
are
like
that's why they're so panicked.
If you leave your dog
at
home, like when you go to work, they don't know if you've been gone 3 minutes. They don't know if you've been gone like 2 years.
They assume you're dead. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And that's why they get so excited when you come home.
Yeah. Have you ever had a dog, Emily?
Yes, all my life.
That's an old dog.
Now.
That's a very old dog.
Well, I had dogs growing up, and then they died, and we got more dogs, and then one of them died. And
it's that easy for you, isn't it? Just replace them just like that. Disgusting.
Yeah, I'm heartless. You're not.
How many dogs have you outlived?
3.
3. How many of these dogs do you actually live with now?
None.
Well, then you haven't got a dog, have you?
She doesn't have a Yeah, she doesn't have a dog. That's what I said.
Yeah. I've got a cat. I see it on the street every now and then, and I stroke its head. Yeah, I am very much a cat person rather than a dog person.
I'm getting that. Yeah, I got that.
I find dogs to be sort of grotesque, but at least in film version they've been, you don't have to smell them or touch them, so it works on that level. These cute little dogs, but
I'm a cat person, but I love dogs as well. I like animals, but I must say, the fact that Santa Buddies killed all those dogs did add to the comedy for me of this film. I don't know about you, but
Santa Buddies. How many?
Snowbuddies?
Well, all right. I don't know about this. You're gonna have to tell me how did they murder all the dogs?
It was Snow Buddies, which was the film immediately preceding this one, so we can assume they brought in a load
second in the franchise.
Yeah.
In the Buddies spin-off franchise, but the 7th in the overall Air Bud series.
Cinematic universe.
Go on, what happened? They all freeze?
No, they all got sick.
With what?
They got dog virus, and it spread round the dogs.
They had to be euthanized.
So were they kind of anti-vax dogs, and that's why they got ill? I just want to know where to pitch my sympathy here.
well, I was reading about this, and at first I thought like, oh, that's sad, and it's not fair to blame the production for a virus that affects puppies like tearing through their dog actors, and they were probably very sad about it as much as anyone. But apparently, it's partly down to them basically like taking the dogs away from their parents too young or something. So it is partly because they had like 500 dogs on set and they weren't being properly looked after. So it is kind of Disney's fault. So
that's like what happened with the Goonies. They all had to be replaced halfway through filming.
Yeah, they were euthanized.
We said. They don't tell you that at Disneyland, do they? Pet Cemetery at Disneyland.
Maybe they have a gravestone dedicated to them in the Haunted Mansion. I'm not sure.
Just one gravestone. All them puppies are what we killed.
Yeah.
Could be. I've not seen a movie where this you don't really see these ones anymore. You don't really see animals in movies anymore because very good thing because they're all CGI now.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it when I'm watching a serious drama and then like the fucking.
I think it's better than employing an animal.
And it's CGI. I love that.
I think
really
it's better
grounded.
than bringing in 30 puppies and then having to euthanize like 8 of them. So I'll take what I can get. But this animates their mouths like Babe, which I hadn't seen in a while, and it was an odd throwback to a massive part of my childhood.
Dr. Dolittle.
It was a very common thing back in the day, but you don't really see it anymore.
CGI mouths, yeah.
Yeah.
What I think really does let the film down is the fact that these dogs can't express any emotion.
Oh, completely.
They need some CGI eyebrows. That's all it would need. Just to give them a little bit of like shock face, happy face.
No, because Babe, which I know I keep referring to, but those animals have emotions. You know when you look at the dog, when, as we've said, when she has her puppies ripped away from her halfway through the movie, you feel sad for that border collie.
Yeah, but you can you can like hit a dog and it'll look sad, so you can do that. It's easy. But you got these little puppies. They've obviously got the American Humane Association like on their back because of all the dogs they killed. So they couldn't like torture them to make them do
Snowbuddies was not allowed to use the disclaimer no animals were harmed in the making.
Some animals were euthanized.
There was one bit in this film where you see all the dogs walking in spacesuits on the moon, and very, very noticeably at one point, one of the dogs awkwardly walks backwards and says, "I'm doing the moonwalk," dubbed over it. And it's like, that looks like a dog that is unhappy because something is being held up in front of its face that's scaring it, and it's trying to back away from it.
There was a couple
really
of shots
stood out
like
to me, that shot.
Where they're sort of hiding. They've snuck into the space station behind the tall group of children that own them, and they're hiding under a bench at one point, just watching the goings on. And they all look really like they've got really wide eyes, and they're like at bay. So they're clearly again in a state of like panic or shock, and it was uncomfortable.
The thing about animal actors, right, is that you train them to do certain things. When you're using puppies, you haven't had the time to do it. You haven't had the time to train them, so you have to just use their instincts. And
it's just one animal. I don't. Maybe that's ignorant of me, but I feel like older animals, you just use that one, because you hear about sort of Hollywood animals. There was that like one chimp.
Yeah, the dog in Frasier.
Whereas, like here, there's clearly they have to keep switching them out because they're child actors, so they can't.
There's different ways of doing it though. Have you ever seen Milo and Otis, Japanese film?
No.
Dudley Moore, I believe, did the narration for the English-speaking territory release, but fascinating film because their approach was let's just get like 100 puppies and kittens so we can like chuck them off cliffs and stuff and film it.
Wow.
And they pretended it was one. They were like, "Oh no, the cat's fallen off a cliff! Ah! Don't worry, guys, he's landed on a little raft in the sea." It's like, no, they just chucked a cat off a cliff and filmed it.
They always land on their feet. That's all right.
It's a really that film, right? I think I told this little anecdote on our podcast, but basically, my ex loved cats. They were like her favorite thing, and I found out there was this film all about cats. I was like, oh, brilliant, a classic film about cats. It's like beloved family film. I'll like obtain a copy and like possibly for a birthday.
It's a romantic gesture.
Like,
yeah.
it was a really nice gesture. Like, I found you this film about cats. You're gonna really love it. And then we watched it, and it was like, oh, there's a cat being thrown off a cliff. Oh, there's a cat being like attacked by a bear. All right. Yeah.
You could have just got a Cats Don't Dance. I think that would have been safer.
Well, she wanted a good film, so that's the problem.
You've not seen Cats Don't Dance, so you can't say that.
You just got her a cat.
Yeah.
I think we had one.
You think you had a cat?
At that point.
How long ago is it this that you're not sure if you had a cat or not?
Well, we had a cat for part of the relationship, but I don't remember at what point specifically we watched Milo and Otis.
So when the cat died, was that when the relationship ended?
No, the cat lasted longer than the relationship.
Oh, that always causes problems.
There's also a ferret in this movie.
Gravity.
Played by Amy Sedaris.
But it takes such a long time for you to hear it speak, and I have to say, I kept being like, oh, I really hope that the ferret speaks, and then when it did, and it spoke as Amy Sedaris, I was thrilled. It was a very enjoyable moment for me in this movie. That has a few
I would have
moments.
I would have been thrilled. It's just very prominently in the opening credits when you're floating through space. It says, and Amy Sedaris as Gravity.
Ferret.
I was like,
yeah, but you know.
Who watches the opening credits?
Yeah, there's not really a villain in this. I mean, there is, but they're kind of rubbish.
There is a villain. It's the same guy who's been typecast. He's also the villain of Clerks 2, where he comes in and says that Lord of the Rings is better than Star Wars. And then Randall proceeds to rip the shit out of Lord of the Rings for about 10 minutes in a scene that in no way has any bearing on the plot of the film and is just the director's mouthpiece. But yeah, it's that same guy.
Well, the human cast, the primary human cast in this movie, you've got the voice of
Kevin Smith's mates.
SpongeBob. You've got a guy from Office Space. You've got one of Prue's boyfriends from Charmed. Like, it was people that I was like, hey, I know you, which is not unheard of for Disney. But
it's because you watched a lot of TV around 2005.
Well, I mean, I was familiar with Bill Fagerbakke when I watched this initially back in 2009.
From Coach?
No, from SpongeBob.
I don't know SpongeBob.
He later turns up in a load of stuff like... he was in How I Met Your Mother very prominently. We watched something on our podcast with him in, didn't we, Alan?
No.
Oh, we did. It was SpongeBob.
We did do a SpongeBob. Yeah.
It was a SpongeBob movie, yeah. But I didn't recognise these other people.
I really liked when the puppies were put in the spacesuits and their tails are also in the spacesuits, so they're like weirdly covered.
Do dogs like that really if they've got things on their tails?
Almost definitely not. And the spacesuits look really uncomfortable, and they have to zip the girl up as like a moment in the movie, which I found strange.
Well, again, like there's a sequence where they get to the moon and they all walk on the space, in their spacesuits, and it's filmed so awkwardly that I can only assume the dogs were having a horrible time.
They don't like being covered up like that.
Every time it cuts to a wide shot, it's CGI because they obviously couldn't get all of the dogs to walk together at the same time.
It's only on the moon, Saul, because they can't do you. Well, they try.
They shoot on location, unfortunately.
Well, no, but then it does. It zooms in for close-ups of them that aren't CGI'd on the moon, and then they're like awkward slow motion. The dogs walking. Honestly, I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now. I guarantee it. It's because they couldn't get all 5 dogs walking together at once.
I'll tell you right.
In the same direction.
If any conspiracy theorist who says that the moon landings were faked and they were filmed in a studio somewhere, show them this, because this is what they could do 40 years later. Awful. Just putting it in slow motion for 4 seconds just to make it look like they're not quite in full gravity.
There's bits where it looks like someone is holding the top of the dog's like suit to like make them lift off the ground a little bit, like out of shot.
That'd be better. A bloke in a green morph suit just picking it up would have worked better.
I have to say, I sat down to watch this film and I was a little worried that I was going to be bored for the next hour and 24 minutes, but I took it for what it was. And the
Emily, sorry, I'm going to have to stop you there. We just had a message from Steve the trucker. Says there's been an accident on King Street. Expect delays. If you can divert, please do. Sorry, go on.
Thanks. And
I've been holding on to that one for 40 minutes, waiting for the right time.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to do that every 15 minutes, whether you like it or not.
Thank you. Cheers. I have to say, like, I bought into what I was watching, and I took myself back in time to try and be a child watching this, and I enjoyed. There's a moment where all of the human children come home to find their puppies each, and we know that they're on the spaceship going to the moon, but they all sort of come into the house with their little personality traits to try and call their dogs.
Yeah.
And so the gangster one wants to come and dance to some tunes, and the girl wants to go for a mani-pedi and a blowout, even though she's like 10. I don't know. I found it charming and endearing, but then it sort of. And then I was like, okay, now something needs to shift. And
Wait a minute, you found the charming, endearing bit was where children came home to find that their dogs were missing. Bit weird.
Missing, yeah. I don't know.
I watched it in good faith, and like what I did like about it is that it whipped along, and it kind of and it reached its sort of conclusion. I was like, wow, this feels like it's really quick, and I checked, and it was only halfway through.
Yeah, yes, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So that was a bit annoying.
Well, the thing that really annoyed me, like, there's a bit in the middle where they realise these dogs like have stowed away on the ship by mistake, and they've been taken to the moon by accident. and they're like, they see these dogs walking on the moon, and they're like, oh my god, it's our first contact with alien life. And then they immediately go, oh no, some dogs must have stowed away on the ship. It's like, that should be the whole
film. That's less likely than aliens. The dogs manage to suit themselves up and then get onto the moon. Unbelievable.
That should have been the whole film. It should have been them thinking that these dogs were aliens and sending someone up to make contact with them. Also, I mean, a big, like, there's an international scandal here. Like, the dogs go on this Russian space station and basically, like, free this hostage dog, and the Russian cosmonaut is very sad. They steal the puppy, his companion, away. National hero. There's statues built of this dog in Russia, and the Americans have kidnapped it. That you know, do we not think now? Like, I know this was 2009 and international relations were a lot better, but I mean that'd kick off a war, wouldn't it? If Putin got word that like Americans had kidnapped the dog, the Russian dog, from space,
possibly. I don't think they felt
he'd launch the missiles. He'd be like, "Fuck you." If I can't have Sputnik, no one can have Sputnik. I'm taking you all down with me.
Because these dogs are heralded as heroes at the end of this movie, and they didn't do anything.
They literally operated a space.
They don't give Chewbacca a
thing.
medal. They don't give Chewbacca a medal. Everyone else gets a medal apart from Chewbacca. Sorry.
But they did. The Russian one lands the thing himself with the goggles.
Yeah.
Google Glass.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you say they didn't do anything?
Because
the
that's
fart
one
dog fixes the antenna on the top of the
we get to watch
ship.
Basically
he farts
the
directly
gravity.
into the fuel tank.
He does, yeah.
Makes sense.
They have to at some point in this movie they have to avoid a meteor shower, and I did have to pause the movie to go watch that TikTok of that girl going meteor, and I watched that about 4 times and then resumed the movie. I didn't pause the movie.
I'm afraid I don't know what.
Good cultural.
I don't know what TikTok is. I'm sorry.
You've never seen that TikTok?
Oh
my god, it's the funniest.
I do know what a meteor shower doesn't look like, though, and that is what is represented in this film.
What? You're saying that Space Buddies didn't accurately represent what space is like?
I mean,
it's not accurately
like
represent what physics is.
At the end of the film, that dog smuggles a moon rock back for its kid, and it's like as big as the dog's head. Hey. It's like, how the fuck did it?
He slipped it into its spacesuit. It'd be worth a lot of money, that moon rock, I tell you.
Yeah. It would be, yeah. It's fucking moon rock.
Not a lot of that around.
under lock and key.
Can I also just address the fact that these kids went on a field trip? One of them just suits himself up in like what presumably is thousands of dollars worth of spacesuit.
Yeah.
And then gets annoyed when he gets told off about it. Like he's in the wrong.
The machine is like obviously just loaded up with loads of fabric and thread and
human
like,
boy.
All the different badges just ready to go. They don't go like we need this much, this many things. NASA doesn't work like that. NASA doesn't like calculate how much of stuff fuel. They don't calculate
no expense.
that. They just
Budgetless. They're like Jurassic Park.
They've got the dog template in there. No problem.
Lots of dog templates in there.
And then, like you say, excellent, I guess parenting skills from the villain, isn't it? Because he's like, you fucking little idiot kid, wasting time messing around with that expensive machinery. Well, you might as well keep it now, even though none of your classmates get to have one for looking after, behaving properly.
Yeah. It's like when you go on a school trip to like the National History Museum and you just jump on the dinosaur and like steal one of the bones, and then they go, "Oh well, you may as well keep it."
And they go, "Well, look, you've taken it off you've detached it from the rest of the skeleton now. You might as well."
But nobody else do that.
Yeah, no one else gets one. Otherwise, I'll be really mad.
I bet you were a nightmare on school trips, Saul.
You
just are in general, aren't you?
Why?
Just because you're an arsehole.
Very well behaved, actually. Very well behaved child.
Do you reckon? Emily, what do you think? Do you think Saul was a good kid?
I think he was. I think he'd be insufferable now, but I think as a child he was probably very well behaved.
Yeah, exactly.
What happens, Saul, if you have kids and then they're like, "Oh, we need parents to help on the school trips. We need some volunteers to help corral the children." Would you help?
I think you've got to, haven't you? At a certain point, you've got to
pull your weight at least once.
Do it once, haven't you?
You have to. That's conservative Britain, that is. Everybody pitching in hell. We're not paying for people to do it.
But would you not have a vested interest? My dad would always be the first to sign up to like museum trips.
Depends where they're going.
He loved sharing that interest and passion with the he just wanted to try his hand at being like a teacher for a day or whatever.
Well, Saul, what school trip would you go on? What's the one where you go, "Oh, I'll do that"?
Cadburyland.
Cadburyland. Do they still do that? School trips?
I never went to Cadburyland.
How would you feel about taking your kids to the Brixton Windmill?
Legoland, maybe. Legoland.
School visits available. We have 4 different lesson plans.
It's not got land at the end.
For ages 4-year-old up to age 10.
Yeah, great. Learn how a windmill works.
Yeah, learn about the history of milling.
Pig shit to understand the basics of like wind inertia.
Well, yeah, 4-year-olds are generally movement. Actually. Yeah.
Fucking dipshits. That's what I think.
Go to brixtonwindmill.org if you are responsible for young children in a Lambeth-based school. And find out more information. It's quite a niche audience I'm going for. But
is there like an interesting history of the windmill?
Of course there is. You want to hear it? It was built in 1816.
Oh God, what have you done?
And built run by the Ashby family, who are a prominent family of bakers in the area. Okay. Yeah, it's.
I liked that.
Okay, I did say interesting history, Alan.
Well, you gotta let it
we
get
have
going.
to wait to the third act of this movie
come on.
for the girl dog to get a pink spacesuit.
Yeah, she was a lot happier in that though, because before she was sickened by her own fashion sense.
Boys spacesuit.
Look, this actually did genuinely bother me. The sort of the just pathetic archetype characters, particularly the sexist nature of the female character. Because at least you got 4 different guys, all twats. But just the one type of female twat.
Boys get to have different facets of personalities. When you're a girl, you're just a girl. That's what
yeah. It's like how Star Wars planets are like one town and it's the whole planet. It's the same thing.
So would you, if you had kids, which I don't think either of you have, but if you did, would you let them watch this and kind of be comfortable with that? Because I don't think I would. I'm not sure I would.
I might watch it and sort of make sarcastic comments the whole way through in the background.
Just so they know.
I think if they wanted to watch this type of movie, there are other better ones to get to first.
Oh yeah, go on.
Snow Buddies.
MVP, most vertical primate, of course. We've covered that one. We know that one.
Go on.
I just showed him Babe.
Ed with Matt LeBlanc and the chimp playing baseball.
Charlotte's Web.
Nope.
Spy Mate, where the chimp is a spy. Also directed by the guy who made this one.
Hail to the Chimp.
Yeah. Max Mere More, which I mentioned before. Which
That's not child friendly.
Of course it is. Max, my love.
She shags the chimp.
You all about... She does shag the chimp. She cuckolds her cousin. and then he hires a sex worker to come and to fuck the chimp as well, so that he can watch, because his wife won't even let him watch when she fucks the chimp. This is a real film from France.
It's a proper art film, like, because it's European.
Oh god, what else is there with chimps in?
Not chimps, they're dogs. So. What's the best ferret film?
Best ferret film?
Yeah.
Probably Yorkshire-based. Ferret cares at any point.
It's a ferret and a whippet and a pigeon. They have to save the town from the mining prospectors.
Best dog movie?
Sherlock Bones.
Oh,
Ghost Dog Cop.
Emily Slade, of course, thinks the best dog movie is Homeward Bound because she's very boring. But it is, of course, Sherlock Bones. Beverly Hills Chihuahua, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about representation. Me as a Mexican.
Oh god, that was disgraceful.
I loved seeing my people up there on screen. Oh, and in this film we get a Chihuahua with a sombrero on it. So thanks, guys.
And a poncho.
There's quite a few chihuahuas.
Was that even a real Chihuahua? Because to be honestly, I think it might have been Chihuahua face. It looked like it might have been a slightly different dog. Like they couldn't get their hands on an actual Chihuahua. It looked a bit too big.
It's a Yorkshire Terrier with a moustache drawn on it.
Yeah. Anyone who hasn't seen the film, they of course do a big montage of like around the world.
Dogs
Everyone's
around
watching the news
Corgis
about
in Britain.
Yeah. We see the Queen.
Well, it's very, very poor taste
Queen
to show the
Elizabeth
Queen
II.
so soon after she died.
Her Majesty. She's there, looking very young.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
2009.
Yeah, she was only 88 at the time.
Yeah. She's there with a couple of corgis, and she's going, "Oh no, the puppy's in space!" Getting very upset.
All right, then we go into a dog. We're going to a dog fight. What are you bringing?
Oh, what dog am I bringing to fight the other dogs? Probably that fucking massive one you get. That's like
Great Dane.
You know, the one you can even bigger than that. You can pretty much ride them. They're like fluffy.
Oh yeah.
You know the one.
Yeah.
Just
Like
sit on the
Saint
other
Saint
dogs.
Bernard.
Clifford.
Saint Clifford.
They look a bit like a Saint Bernard, but they're bigger.
What about you, Emily?
No, I'd bring a Shiba Inu, but it's the one from that meme that's like swole. you know where they do like
dog.
They do like the Virgin XYZ and the Chad XYZ, and they do it with like little Shiba Inu looking all like sad, and then they do one with like a big body, like all jacked up, like it's on steroids,
Yeah. Well, you got to train it.
Yeah,
what about you, Emily? What are you going to bring?
I'm not coming to the dog fight. I'm sorry.
Oh, bloody
snowflake! Rip your
snowflake!
face off if you don't nominate a dog to defend you.
This is your trouble. You see, you can't even imagine dogs ripping each other apart for our entertainment.
I'm trying to think what you know at the start of 101 Dalmatians, where all the dog owners look like the dogs, and it's like, ooh. I'm trying to imagine what Emily Slade's equivalent dog would be.
There's no way this could possibly offend her. Go
on. I think it'd be a really timid dog from a shelter that, like, you go to stroke it and it cowers in the corner and it pisses itself. Does a submissive wee. It'd be one of them.
It's just got a traumatic backstory.
And it'd be an Affan Pinscher. I've just googled dog breeds.
What the fuck is an Affan?
An Affan Pinscher.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up now.
It's known as the Monkey Terrier.
It's very cute.
You hold on to that.
Well, it's all I've got.
It does look like a dog you could kick across a field quite easily.
And Alan, you'd have an Afghan hound as your one.
That's good.
Notice they're all beginning with A because I haven't scrolled down past the letter A.
I'm not an Afghan hound.
I know Afghan hounds. Like, they're one of the dog breeds.
Take this. This dog looks really weird and cute. I'll have it.
That's obviously how he feels about you.
So, was this something that brought you together, or did you just submit Alan to watching this as a 20-year-old?
It's definitely a shared joke, so I don't really know how that happened because I didn't watch it with you, Alan.
We watch a lot of crap films, though, don't we?
Yeah, but like we started watching shit films on purpose as a joke, like well after 2009.
Yeah, I can't remember why. Why? I don't think I went to see it at the cinema.
I don't think it came out of the cinema.
All right, yeah. That makes sense actually. Yeah.
No, it was straight to video. I remember watching it on like Putlocker or whatever.
Yeah.
Like pirating site.
Well, that's why I watched it last night.
Yeah, well, I mean, I must admit, if it wasn't on Disney Plus, which I pay for other
professional reasons,
like I would have just illegally streamed it as well. I wouldn't have wanted to. I've seen this film before. I know it's not worth. How much would it cost to rent this?
Probably like $2.49, maybe $3.49 because it's Disney.
What the Blockbuster charge these days?
Look, I needed food on the way in here, right? On the way to this podcast.
On the way into the studio, isn't it?
Yeah. I hadn't eaten, and so I stopped off at McDonald's just for convenience sake on the walk home.
Oh yeah.
And a homeless guy came up to me and asked if I could buy him some food, and I sort of went, like it. And then he moved on. If I'm humming and hawing about buying a homeless guy a cheeseburger, you think I'm going to spend money on watching Space Buddies for the second time?
I think you're much more likely to spend money on Space Buddies than a homeless man.
Look, I gave a homeless guy a tenner.
What?
When I moved in here, and I was like, "That's me done."
That's to make him move out.
That's me. I live in the city centre. For anyone listening, so there's a lot of homeless people here. I gave one of them a tenner because I don't typically carry cash, but I had a tenner on me, and I was like, "Right, that's it. That's like a year's worth of homeless."
That's crazy.
Stuff.
You got too much money.
Subscription to homelessness.
Emily, have you ever had a £10 note in your purse?
I haven't had a £10 note in my purse for a while. 2018 was probably the last time I had one, and I got mugged.
You got mugged?
Yeah, I got mugged.
Who would mug you?
I don't know.
What's that supposed to? I don't know what the insult is there. There's definitely something.
There's so many insults you could take from that. There's like 5 different ones. I don't know which one to go now. Can we have a dog in this film called Butterscotch?
Oh, we've already got Butterball, so Butterscotch would be the diabetic one.
Yeah. What about Buttermilk?
You need to have a character trait with it.
He's a chef. He's a Cajun chef. Butterfly.
Ooh, now
it's
a
girl one.
That would be a girl. No, that would be a girl one.
Well, Emily, there's already a girl one. We've already done that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Butterfly who always wants to fly. That's it. He keeps strapping wings to himself.
No.
That'd be silly, wouldn't it?
He's an entomologist. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Can he be the like flamboyant one that has like?
We haven't got a gay puppy, of course.
Yeah.
That one's Buttercup.
Yeah, it'll have a little cravat on all the time.
You can have an actually fat one, call it Butternut Squash. And it could be like whenever it gets mad at the other dogs, it sits on him. Budler, and he's like the one out of Downton Abbey.
Yeah, he'll be the British one.
Yeah. That's the corgi's probably called Budler that the Queen has.
We haven't talked about Diedrich Bader.
Yeah, one of Kevin Smith's mates who's in the film, yeah.
He's quite a prominent human character playing a Stranger Things Russian man.
I really know him more as a voice actor, this guy. He's Batman in anything that has a comedic slant and therefore can't use a normal actor and has to use like a comedy actor.
So this didn't influence you to go watch any of the other Buddies movies?
No, it influenced me to read the Wikipedia page about them.
I watched, like, the joke of this film wasn't just, like, talking dogs hilarious. It was talking dogs in space. And how do you top that? You can't. Unless we forget, like, now that would make sense, because now there's, like, a million of these films, but
it's
back
sort of
then,
commendable as well that they...
This was the third Buddies. There was Air Buddies, which was just, like, the dog who played sports had a load of kids.
Mm-hmm.
Snow Buddies, right, it's the same thing, but it's Christmas. And then the third one was, well, hey, we're going to space. It's a big swing.
It's very commendable how this movie doesn't rely on just shoving in a bunch of, like, 2001 references, and, like, they could have gone really hard with the space movie references to try and appeal to...
But the people who made this film have never seen other films.
Yeah, they just went for a series of fart jokes. I must admit, I was, like, my big takeaway when I first watched this film was how on earth did the people making this film do it with such a straight face? How did they, like, not put in jokes to amuse themselves?
Yeah.
And now watching it again, I've realised, they were putting in jokes to amuse themselves. They're just very untalented, unfunny people. I think that's pretty much what, like, there are jokes in this film. They're just really weak. I did like, at the start of the film, one of the kids says, he threatens the dog with a bath. He says, "You'll have a BATH," and then the dog goes, "You just spelled the B word." And that's the best joke in the film, I think.
There's a couple of possibly unintentional, but also possibly not, moments where a human character will say something and then it'll cut to a reaction from the dog, but as we've established, the dogs can't react, so I always found that quite funny.
They can't even get the dog to put its paw over its eyes in a
what I liked was when they were shaking the camera around to, in fact, not even that, when they were in post making the footage spin around to give the impression of the spaceship having a bit of trouble flying around, to get the dogs to, like, brace themselves, they just filmed the dogs, like, really relaxed, kind of, like, sprawled out on the floor. So it just didn't work at all. It just looked like the dogs were, like, having a real... chill. It looked like Bud was on the ship, just being like, "Whoa."
Okay, two highlights for me. One where they go into zero gravity and they've obviously just got some fishing line on their ears and start pulling their ears around, and then obviously just have them floating around in space, but just a bloke holding the dog, and that's been cut out later. Yeah. But then my personal favourite is whenever we need to see the dog kind of do something in close-up and there's a puppet paw, like when Thunderbirds had a human hand for a close-up. I like that bit.
There was a Star Wars reference. There was a very overt, when they see the moon, the dog goes, "Ah, the Death Star."
It's not it's not a subtle reference, is it?
But I mean, I think that's the level that the people making this film are working at. It makes me mad, if I'm honest, right? Because Alan hates it when I talk about, like, how good I'd be if I was in Hollywood.
You could knock one of these films out, no problem. So I'll give you this one.
That's what I mean. I think if I was in Hollywood at the right time, I think I could have found a really nice little niche career making buddies movies, just knocking them out.
What's your buddies pitch? Where do you do it? We've already done Puppies in Space. What's next?
Oh God, I mean,
I'd go with a murder mystery.
Ooh, that'd be.
They have to solve the mystery.
Nice, like a Clue type thing.
Yeah.
Get Tim Curry in.
Yeah. You have to have someone murdered though, which is a bit maybe not a murder mystery. It's like a.
It's who shat on the carpet.
What are the names of the dogs?
What, in the murder mystery?
No, in this one. I've already forgotten what they are. Butter,
Mudbud.
Rosebud.
We would definitely bring
Butterball. That was it. Yeah.
Oh,
mystery. You have a Budler. Tim Curry voices Budler.
Yeah. Budler, voiced by Tim Curry. And what breed of dog is Budler, though? He's
They're all the same. They're all Aryan.
He's like a Doberman.
Golden Retriever. A corgi. A Budler would be a corgi.
I was thinking corgi, but then I feel like he needs to be, like, big enough to be kind of a threat. Because he's obviously going to be the one who did it at the end. It's going to turn out as him.
We could have... I've got a female character for you. the old dowager dog.
Oh, yeah,
how
you're right.
disgraceful.
She'll be like an Afghan hound for sure.
Yeah.
No, you're allowed 2 women if one of them isn't sexually attractive.
Whereas Rosebud is a fucking sexy
Rosebud
bitch.
is fine.
Oh God.
I would sniff that ass if I were a dog.
Obviously, yeah. I didn't think you were
Of
weird or
appropriate
anything.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only a chat. It's only a 3-month-old dog.
Yeah, 3 months old in dog years is like 9 months old.
Yeah, that's like a year and a half.
21 months old, Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem then.
But honestly, it's annoying. Like I could crank these fucking things out. They'd be way better.
Oh, Sol, do you know that the last one they did was the buddies find the power rings and become super puppies?
Super buddies.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah.
So they've
I didn't know that was the last one, but I know,
they've covered it. They've done it all.
they did it.
That's the beauty of the buddies.
Yeah,
franchise.
they did superheroes circa 2013.
Sol, I've got it.
Go on.
Buddy zombies.
Oh.
I was trying to figure that out before, but I don't know. You could do it with.
You just
Keeping it
pour a load
child-friendly.
of spaghetti on them.
No.
And they look like zombies.
It would be that like it'd be like Mona the vampire. It'd be like their imagination.
No, that was
like...
too scary. That was too scary.
It's like Scooby Doo. When are they gonna do? Let's just do Scooby Doo with a real dog. Let's just stop messing about.
They did 2002.
What?
Behave yourself, Slade.
Why are you calling her Slade now? What's that about? When did that
What
happen?
am I going to call it? Because it's 1 syllable versus 3 syllables.
Well, you really need to eject the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's efficiency. To be honest, I've been called Slade all of my life because there's always more than one Emily, and Slade is a kick-ass surname. So I've always been Slade to most people. So you're actually quite late to the party.
Yeah, but can you do a Noddy Holder impression? That would be useful.
Say
Say it's Christmas, but really loud.
I hadn't heard that in years because people were getting to like it's only old people that make that reference.
What about Porridge? Porridge takes
there you go. I was
place
waiting
in
for that
Slade.
Wait for that bloody plug for the British sitcom history podcast.
Oh, what? The
to come
first
in.
episode of the new series coming out soon. The British Sitcom
About
History
porridge?
podcast about porridge.
Oh, yeah.
It comes out in early December. Check it out. British Sitcom History podcast. Slade. Hey, Slade. Slade, how come all your episodes are about films I've never heard of? Including this one. Where do you find these crap children's films?
Well, I could take this. I could take this, Slade. Alan, we had a breakthrough the other day.
Oh, right.
I
Yeah,
figured
so
this out
we should let everyone know that you have been giving Slade therapy sessions. You've had a
we're
break.
working through
Okay,
something.
okay, good.
What it is that Emily Slade's. This might be interesting to you. I had no idea.
It's interesting to me.
Emily Slade's parents and her grandparents were like cinephiles. She's from like a long lineage of like people who actually like films, care about films. They made her watch like proper
It does
cinema
skip a
when
generation.
She was a yeah. They made her watch like the Three Colors trilogy and shit
Oh,
like
yeah,
that when she was a kid.
It's proper.
And
That's
so,
like foreign and
so as an act of rebellion, she watches shit like crap animation from the 90s that no one likes, like really bad films, because she's got
Firstly,
mummy daddy issues.
Lots of people like them. Secondly, not explicitly that as a thing. Thank you.
There's all your episodes. I think it's like, oh, the princess rides a unicorn, and you're like, oh, I used to watch this every day after school. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, because what the general gist of my podcast is that you bring on a beloved classic from your childhood, and when you're a child, especially a child growing up in the era of VHS, you tend to be given a VHS, and then you'd watch it to death, and then it would become part of your personality. Where can, if anyone wants to listen to you two talk about films, where can they find you?
Oh, that's no problem, Emily.
We
Thanks
did
for
an
having us.
episode-
We loved it.
Yeah. We did an episode of Why This Film podcast, actually, if people want to hear us talking
Yeah.
about space buddies,
Yeah.
which is very funny, very good, funny.
If you like Sol's hilarious banter, edited to within an inch of its life because he won't shut up. You can find more of that at Diminishing Returns, a podcast about films.
Dimreturns.com.
And I've got a good podcast called the British Sitcom History Podcast. If you're really into old British sitcoms, I think there's going to be a lot of crossover in our demographic, Emily.
Well,
really?
I mean,
I've got a lot of 45-year-old men listen to my stuff as well.
Alan says good podcast there, and that's not true. But what he should specify is that it's good every now and then when I am a guest on the show, which is happening 2 times soon.
Yes. Yeah, I think, in fact, let me just have a quick look at the schedule there. Saul, if you really like Saul, he will be in an episode that goes out on the 15th of December.
No, don't, no, because the thing is, I'm a very well-behaved boy when I'm on.
Yeah, he doesn't fuck about because he respects me on my podcast.
Okay.
It's not like this one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thanks.
I don't know why he treats you like this, Emily. There's no respect.
Well. Great. It's been a pleasure